So for all the talk of a contested Republican convention, at least one man accurately predicted that would not be the case. Just days after Ted Cruz's final primary victory in early April, Paul Manafort said Donald Trump would secure this nomination prior to the convention. Listen.
This convention process will be over with sometime in June, probably June 7th, and it'll be apparent to the world that Trump is over the 1237 number. And at that point in time, when it is apparent, everything's going to come together.
You think Trump gets to 1237?
Absolutely.
Before the convention?
Absolutely.
In fact, Mr. Trump did all that and more. Joining us now, the man you just heard from, Paul Manafort, Trump campaign strategist and convention manager. Paul, great to see you.
Good to see you.
So what did you see that the rest of America did not?
Well, Donald Trump was running a historic campaign when I joined the campaign. He had put the first modern campaign together in dealing with social media, dealing with earned media, and dealing with speaking directly to the American people. He didn't have any of the traditional organizational elements that were keeping his campaign afoot. And so in the beginning, when he was winning primaries, he was accomplishing his objective by really having his message resonate with the American people. As the process got closer to the middle and the end, the campaign needed to focus more on not just winning, but winning with specific delegate totals in the states. And that's when he reached out and asked me to join him. And what I had when I started was a tremendous candidate, probably the best communicator since Ronald Reagan, as far as having a vision, having a message, and being able to communicate over the media, over the noise of a campaign. And so it just needed to make sure that the campaign structures were serving his needs, to make sure that he was not just communicating with people, not just winning, but winning what I call smart, or focusing on delegates. And the path was clear. He had overachieved by the time the primaries were halfway over, and his numbers were much higher than I think most of his opponents thought they would be as far as delegates were concerned. And as the other campaigns started to fail and drop off, it was his message that was resonating, and the fact that we were able to make sure it was heard in all the right places at the right times. The campaign came together, and you saw him not just winning, but winning with 50%, 55, then 60.
His margin started to go up. Now, when you spoke to some party leaders down in Hollywood, Florida, they were meeting at one of their regular meetings, you said, look, the part he's been playing, those are your words, in the primary process is going to change as he goes forward and faces more of a general election contest. Did you believe that, you know, sort of the bombast of the first 9, 10 months wouldn't be suitable for the next challenge he faces?
No, the question was focusing on the kind of environments that he would be giving speeches in. And part of what was reported out was only focusing on the rallies that he was doing. What I was talking about was he was going to start moving into other arenas, other formats.
But what do you think about that? I mean, in terms of tone, he's been asked about this too. What kind of Donald Trump do you think we're going to be seeing now, in other words? Same guy we saw all along, or a difference?
There's no reason for Donald Trump to change a thing. I mean, he's just won a historic race against 16 opponents. He's now the highest vote getter in Republican history as far as the primary process is concerned. And he beat the field handily. So there's nothing for Donald Trump to change.
But you know why critics say that he would have to consider it, because he was running with Republican voters before, and now he needs to get more than just Republicans to want to vote for him. Yeah,
but those critics also said he would never get to 30% or 40% or 50% and would never be the nominee. They don't understand the Trump phenomenon, and they don't understand that his connection to the people is not being a conventional candidate, but to be a candidate who is being honest and forthright and talking about the real problems and making clear that they understand that he's going to bring real solutions, not just Washington talk.
Is it true you told him to step away from the Twitter?
I would never tell him to do that.
You didn't say anything about the tweeting or retweeting?
There was no reason for him to step away from the Twitter. He was doing fine. And again, there was nothing.
Even he has admitted that there were a couple of mistakes on the Twitter.
He can admit that. I'm not going to admit that.
You're a loyal soldier.
No, but I mean, he understood what was going on. There was no reason to change that.
I mean, it's not a question of, his honesty and but some of the things.
What needed to be changed was the structure needed to become more conventional. That's what wasn't there when I joined the campaign, and that's what we brought to the campaign.
So what happens now? We cited the general election poll, and you know that in 99% of the polls, she's beating him right now. We're 7 months out, but she's beating him. New York Times has an article today saying Donald Trump's faring worse than Romney among white voters in all presidential battleground states, even in states Romney won, like Colorado, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. Big disadvantage in Florida, in Virginia, even in North Carolina and Arizona, which Mitt Romney won. They're saying he's not matching up to Mitt Romney when it comes to the white vote, and that's what he's really going to need to win. So how do you and he turn that around?
Polls today aren't really relevant. In 1980, Ronald Reagan was down by 25 points to Jimmy Carter at this point in time. We've just come through a bruising Republican primary. There's plenty of time for Donald Trump to fix those issues. Plus, there are polls out today that show him down 2 and up 2. So the polls are all over the place, and they're not really.
They're not really. There's one poll, a Rasmussen poll, that shows him up 2.
There's a battleground poll that showed him down 3. And so, I mean, they're all over the place. But the important thing is the polls aren't relevant today, given that we've now starting the process of unifying the party. We're going to have a positive convention. We're not going to be dealing with the kinds of problems that the Democrats are going to be dealing with at their convention. And Donald Trump will have the time to put together the general campaign structure, work with the RNC.
Any thoughts on VP nomination?
He's just started those deliberations. He did not want to get involved in thinking about those things.
Do you believe what people say, that it has to be somebody like Susana Martinez, a woman, a Latina?
He said he's looking for somebody who has Washington experience and someone who can help him in dealing with the problems in foreign policy and defense policy. That's more important in my judgment, and that's what he thinks, which is even more important.
I got to go, but I got to ask you this question. He has promised a better convention than the Republicans had 4 years ago. They don't do stagecraft very well. It's true that Obama's convention was so much better than Romney's last. It just was. Sorry, Mitt. What can we expect? What are we going to get? Some kind of new band? What are we going to see?
Donald Trump understands television. I think you'll find our convention will be gripping, and you'll want to watch every minute of it.
And I certainly will be there. Paul, it's great to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. And you'll want to watch every minute of it, and you can do that right here on Fox.